Hi, my name is Elizabeth Morgan and I'm the environmental educator with the City of Rock Hill. And this is Mrs. Chapman, first grade teacher at Westminster Catawba Christian School and Cleaning Green Board member. We're here to talk to you today about water quality. So students in the room, does anybody know what water quality is?
Water quality is like how clean your water is.
Yes, so water quality, one of the parts of water quality is how clean it is. That's right. Does anybody else have any ideas about water quality?
Why does it have to be clean?
Why does our water have to be clean? That's a good question. Who likes to go swimming? Everybody raise your hand, even my friends out there in TV land. Who likes to go fishing? Who likes to go boating? Who likes to drink water? Yeah. Do you want to do those things with clean water or dirty water?
Clean
water. That's right. So we want to make sure we keep our water clean. Does anybody know where our drinking water comes from in Rock Hill? Where do you think?
The river.
Yeah, the river. So where exactly? Which part of the river? Do you know?
The upper part with Wiley?
Lake Wiley, that's right. So our drinking water comes from Lake Wiley. So we bring it in, we don't give it to you straight from Lake Wiley. We clean it up and then we send it out to your home through pipes. Well, what happens to the water when it goes down the sink in the drain? Then what happens?
It gets dirty.
It gets dirty after you use it, right? When you take a shower or wash your dishes or flush the toilet, that water is dirty. So then where does it go? Where do you think?
The water filtration plant?
The water treatment plant, that's right. So the wastewater treatment plant is where we clean up your water and then we send it back out. Do you know where we send it back out to?
The water place.
We send it back out to,
The water
Homes.
no, after we clean it back up, where do we put it?
tanks.
No, we send it then back to the river. So we bring it in, we clean it up, we send it to your house, you use it, it goes back out, we clean it up again, and we send it out to the river so that we're not taking away water without giving water back. So if we want to drink that water, swim in that water, play in that water, do we want it clean or dirty?
Clean.
Clean, that's right. So what happens, we have a whole other kind of water. That's all of our indoor water, and that's not really what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about water that's outside.
In the ocean.
Yeah, in the ocean, but even a little bit closer to home. What kind of waterways do we have close to home?
Rivers.
Rivers?
Fish tanks.
Not fish tanks so much. What else?
Wells.
Wells? Well water's a good point. Yeah, some of us get our water from wells, which is underground, and we want to keep that water clean too. So we've got rivers. What else do we have? What do you think?
Wells.
Wells, yeah.
Lakes.
Lakes.
Storms. Stormwater. Ponds.
Stormwater, ponds, yeah, all of these outdoor water. What happens, Miss Chapman was getting us there, what happens when it rains outside?
It pours.
When it rains, it pours, that's true. What happens to all that water when it rains? Where does it go?
It goes.
It goes in the storm drain.
That's right, what's a storm drain?
It leads to the ocean.
Yes, very good. So our storm drains, you've probably seen them. They might be out on your playgrounds. There's like a grate in the sidewalk or in the parking lot.
Or in your neighborhood.
Or in your neighborhood, or as you're riding down the road, anywhere where you see along the curb where it cuts out, or in a parking lot where there's a big grate and you look down, that's where the water goes. And if we didn't have storm drains, we'd all be walking around in knee-deep water every time it rains. Because we get so much water that the ground can't absorb it that fast, especially where we have roads.
And it'll have a flood.
We have floods all the time. So the storm drains are very important to take all that storm water and take it somewhere else. And where did you tell me it goes?
To the ocean.
So eventually it could go to the ocean. Where does it go here in Rock Hill? Where do you think?
Down the drain.
Down the drain, into the storm drains, and then
Lake
where?
Wiley.
Into Lake Wiley. So it might go into a creek or a stream, and those creeks and streams eventually feed our rivers and our lakes. So if you have a creek behind your house or in your neighborhood or a little stream, stormwater can end up in those waterways. So what happens to all of the other things that are outside, like trash and dirt, when it rains?
It gets washed away.
And where does it go?
In the rivers.
And it gets there in the
Pipes.
which we call the
Storm drain.
Storm drains, that's right. So our storm water ends up in our pipes and it takes along everything with it that's outside. Trash, dirt, debris, and it goes into our storm drains. And those storm drains don't get cleaned up like the other water. They go straight into our creeks and our streams and our rivers. And they take all of that with it. What's the word for things in our environment that aren't supposed to be there and are harmful? Do you know what that word is?
Litter.
Litter is an example of it, but what do we call all of it?
Pollution?
Pollution, that's right. So we call that pollution, and it takes all of that pollution into our local waterways. So there's things that you and I can do to help that stay clean, that we don't even know we're doing that might be making our water dirty. So we've got this little fish tank here, and we're going to call this the Catawba River. And the river has some things in it. What's this right here?
A plant.
Our plants. So we have, aquatic life, aquatic plants. We've got this little guy. What's this?
A crab.
No, it's not a crab. What do we call them when they're in rivers? You can catch them and play with them.
A scorpion.
No.
Crawdad.
It's called a crawdad. That's right. So this is a little crawdad. We're going to put him in there. He's a little invertebrate. And we've got this guy. What do we call him? What do you think?
A gave.
Salamander.
A salamander, like a little lizard. So he's going to live in our water. And then we all know what this is. We have lots of these. What's this?
Fish.
A fish. That's right. So what do we want to name our fish? We're going to name the fish. Joe? Do we want to name him Joe? What do you want to name him? Joe? Joe? All right.
Okay.
Joe the fish. So Joe's swimming around, and he's pretty happy in there. We're going to let Mrs. Chapman be in control of Joe. So he's in there swimming around. He's got nice, clean water. It looks good. But as Joe's swimming, somewhere downstream, somebody is building a whole housing development. And in that housing development, they've taken away all the trees and all the grass and all the bushes.
And all of the stream.
Yeah, well, they just left dirt. So all it's there is dirt, and there's nothing to hold that dirt in, like the grass and the trees. That's kind of their job, is to hold the dirt where it belongs. So now that they're all gone, it starts to
Joe's
rain.
going to get smaller and smaller and smaller place to live.
Yeah, because what's going to happen? What's going to end up in there where Joe is?
Dirt.
And does anybody know what we call that when the dirt runs off into the water?
Runoff?
Runoff? But what's the big word we call it? It's a good third grade word. Does anybody remember? Erosion. Yeah. Once you're in third grade, you'll learn that big word. Erosion. So we've got erosion, which means...
And the water gets dirty, so the animals die.
Yeah, well, it could kill them, or it just makes it harder for them to live. Look how dirty our water is already. So the more and more erosion we get, the more and more this would fill up with dirt, like you said, making their home smaller. But also it's harder for them to see, which means it's harder for them to find food, find shelter, and other animals that rely on aquatic life. So birds like hawks or pelicans, when they want to eat out of here, they might not be able to see the fish they're trying to eat because the water is so cloudy. So erosion can hurt our little fish when they're swimming around in our plants and our different animals because it's putting things in that shouldn't be there. So as our little fishy keeps swimming, somebody else in Rock Hill is planting their garden and they want the greenest grass in the neighborhood. So they go out and they put out fertilizer. Fertilizer is a chemical that can make your garden grow and your grass green, and it's okay to put out fertilizer. But this person didn't pay attention, and they put out all kinds of fertilizer, like more than the bag told them they should, and they didn't check the weather. So fertilizer is like little pellets, like little grains. So now there's all these pellets and grains all over their lawn, and it starts to rain. What's going to happen? Where are all those pellets and grains going to go?
The river.
Yeah, but how are they going to get there?
Through the storm drain.
Through the storm drain. So we have all this fertilizer that's going to end up in there in the aquatic life. And the fertilizer, like we said, is made of chemicals. So now our fish and our plants are going to have these chemicals in their body, which can make them sick. And also anything that eats these fish and plants can end up with those chemicals in their body and make them sick.
And if they're sick, they can die.
Yeah, and they could die. So poor little Joe's still trying to swim around, but he's not feeling so hot right now. So as Joe continues to swim, somebody else in Rock Hill is changing the oil in their car. So they're out in their driveway, they're getting all the old goopy oil out, and they've got a pan full of it. And they think like, I don't really want to take the time to get rid of this the way I should. I'm going to dump it down the storm drain. What's going to happen to all that oil when it goes in the storm drain?
Joe's gonna get sick.
Joe's going to get sick because now Joe's got motor oil in his house. Oh no, look at Joe.
He's getting it all
Oh goodness.
over.
So oil is really sticky. So once it gets on you, it's really hard to get off. And animals don't have bathtubs and showers and soap and scrubbies. So they don't have a way to get all that oil off. So once it's on them,
They can't get it off.
they can't get it off. And it makes it hard to breathe, hard to swim, hard to do the things that they need to do to stay alive. So poor little Joe, he's not looking so hot.
Swimming slower and slower.
So as we continue to go, now Joe's going through trying to feel better, but somebody else in Rock Hill, let's say we just had an ice storm. And so when we had that ice storm, somebody went and sprinkled something on their walkway. What do you put on your walkway?
Road salt?
Salt. Yeah, you put really like thick salt on there and it melts the ice, which is good. But they didn't clean up the salt after the ice was gone. And now it starts to snow or starts to rain. So what's going to happen to all of that salt?
It's gonna go in the ocean.
It's going to end up in our waterways, right?
It's going to end up on Joe.
It's going to end up on Joe.
Poor guy.
So do we live, our waterways around here, are they freshwater or saltwater?
Fresh.
Freshwater, that's right. So the ocean is saltwater, but our lakes and streams and creeks are freshwater. And now we've dumped all this salt in there, and these animals weren't made to live in salt water. They were made to live in freshwater. So again, we've disrupted their habitat where they live and put things in there that aren't good for them. So poor Joe is going to keep swimming, keep trying to do okay, but as he's swimming, somebody else in town has decided they would like to have a nice clean car. So they are out washing their car on their driveway.
And it lands in Joe's ocean.
Yeah, in Joe's
Their
habitat in the
soap
river.
goes in the storm
The
drain.
soap goes in the storm drain. So all of that soap and all the goop from the car, all the dirt and all the grime
Poor Joe.
ends up in there with Joe. And all of that soap. Have you ever gotten soap in your eyes?
Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good, does it? So now we've added all this soap. It's not good either. It's another kind of chemical that is not good for our fish, and they're ingesting it. And again, any animal that eats Joe or Joe's friends is also ingesting all of that. Because whatever they ate, that animal's going to eat too because it's part of them.
Bubbles.
So now we see all these bubbles. Is it looking so good up here? It's not
No.
looking so good.
Poor Joe.
So as Joe continues to swim, poor Joe, little Joey has just gotten home from school. So Joey and Joe. And it's Joey's job to walk his dog when he gets home from school. So what happens when you take your dog out for a walk?
They're gonna bark at people.
They're going to bark. What else do our pets do when we take them for a walk?
They making oopsies?
They go to the bathroom. That's right. So when they go to the bathroom and it doesn't get picked up and then it starts to rain, what happens?
It's gonna go down into the ocean.
It's going to go in the storm drain and end up in the Catawba River. So all that pet waste, oh no, it's going to be all over Joe. So when we don't pick up after our pets, it ends up in our waterways. And remember, we like to fish and boat and swim in that water.
Ew.
Yeah, it's not so good for Joe. So as we continue to swim, somebody's riding through Rock Hill and they just had a granola bar and a drink. And so they have their trash.
And they throw it out into the drain.
Throw it out the window and it bounces into the gutter and it starts to rain. What's going to happen to it? Where's it going to go?
It's gonna go in the river.
It's going to go in the storm drain, which ends up in the river. So you have all of this litter that's going to end up in our water. And again, our animals, when they see litter, they might try to eat it or they might get tangled up in it. They might try to go investigate it and they can get hurt or even killed from interacting with the litter that was not supposed to be there in the first place. So things are looking pretty rough for our friend Joe the fish over here. So as Joe's trying to swim out of town, down the river, trying to get far away from Rock Hill, one last thing. As Joe's swimming out of town, somebody has just painted the rooms in their house.
Oh.
And they went outside and cleaned all their paintbrushes off with the hose and down the storm drain. So what's going to happen to all that paint?
Joe's gonna turn green.
Yeah, whatever color they were painting, Joe is going to have,
That color on him.
yeah, it's going to end up in his waterway. And this actually happens from time to time. In the city of Rock Hill, our stormwater hotline will get a call and somebody will say, the creek behind my house is red or blue. And we come investigate and we can trace it all the way back. And it's usually somebody cleaning out their paintbrushes. All right.
Do they get arrested?
They get fined and they have to work to help clean it up. So this is the water we started with. Would you guys drink this water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you swim in this water?
Yes.
Play in this water?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It looks good. This is the water we ended with. Would you want to swim in this?
No.
Would you want to drink this?
Yes.
Would you want to take a shower in this?
Yes.
No.
Dirty
It's dirty and
water.
yucky.
I don't like being
So, I have a question for you. Of all these things up here that we saw happen, think real hard on this. How many of these people went and dumped their pollutant in the river? No.
They
What do you think?
in the river.
How many went and dumped it right in the river?
One.
No, you think you got
None.
None. You're exactly right. None of these people went and dumped their stuff in the river.
It went in the drain.
It went in the storm drain. They were just doing what they thought they do all the time. And it ended up in our storm drain, and it caused our rivers to look like this. So we're going to talk about each one of these things and decide what we could have done different. So litter. Instead of throwing the litter out in the
We should
street,
throw it in the trash can.
throw it in the trash can. That's an easy one. Erosion. So instead of taking all the trees away, what should we do? What do you think?
Keep trees.
You keep trees. And if you have to take out a tree or take out grass, you want to put up fencing, like the plastic fencing, to keep it from washing away. Or like if you have a spot in your yard where grass doesn't grow, you don't have a tree, you can put pavers or mulch or something to hold that dirt in place. All right, the guy that put out all the fertilizer, what could he have done different? What do you think?
Not put out so much.
Yeah, put out the right amount. And what else do you have to look out for?
The weather.
The weather. You don't want to do it right before it rains because you're wasting your money and your time. It's all just going to wash away. All right, so the paint brushes. What could we have done differently there? What do you think?
We should have cleaned them up in the trash can.
Yeah, the trash can or even in the sink, because remember we talked about how the water that goes down our inside drains goes to get cleaned at the wastewater treatment. So you can clean it off in a sink and then that water will get treated. What about our motor oil, that sticky oil?
We shouldn't put it in there.
Yeah, we never put it in the storm drain or back in the yard. You can take it to anywhere that sells oil. So Walmart, any auto parts store, and they will recycle it for free. All right, what about that salt that they let wash away? What else could we have done?
You could have picked it back up and threw it away.
Yeah, just use the broom, sweep it up, and throw it away. What about pollution from homes? What about all that soap and stuff from when we washed our cars? What could you have done different there?
You could have not gotten your storm drain that far away from one, or
How else can we wash our cars?
go to a car wash.
Yeah, you go to a car wash. So car washes have systems in place that recycles and cleans the water. Or if you do wash at home, just wash it on your grass, and that we'll use as like a natural filter to filter out all the soap and all the chemicals. And finally, pet waste. What do you do when you take your dog for a walk?
You clean its doo-doo up.
That's right. You just pick up after your animal and you throw it away. So there's easy solutions to all these problems that can give us water that looks like this instead of water that looks like this. Because it's in our best interest, because this is the water we drink, we play in, we want to go fishing. It's our best interest to keep our water clean, and we know how we can do that now. So the good news is now you guys are experts on stormwater and how to keep it clean and keep from polluting. So what you get to do is go home and teach your families everything they can do to help keep our water clean. And I have some resources for you to take home. Your teacher has a bag for you. You've got this litter bag that you can put in your car that has, you can put in your car and keep all your trash in there so we don't have any litter. You've got our solid waste handbook that reminds you how to recycle, how not to litter. If you want to do a litter cleanup, it's got information on how to get supplies to help keep our areas clean. We have this great stormwater brochure that tells you everything we just talked about so you can remember how to keep our stormwater clean. And if you see something, it's got our stormwater hotline if you've got a question or if you see something that doesn't look right in our water. You get this pencil that helps you remember, and when you write with it, it changes colors, so that's fun. And an activity book that has all kinds of fun activities and games to help you remember what we learned today. So Mrs. Chapman and I want to say thank you for watching, and I want to tell you thank you for sharing your classroom with us. We hope that everybody has a great rest of the year, and thank you for helping keep our community clean. Rocco Clean and Green is so happy that we have such great young people helping us make our community a great place to live. Thanks.